You watch How to Drive, a channel where I teach you to buy the right car. And today I have a 2024 Tesla Model Y long-range rear-wheel drive. This car is only a few weeks old, and this is exactly the car most of you are shopping for to get that 0% financing or a few $1,000s off from Tesla's inventory. But today I have 4 biggest questions I want to answer on this channel. And for the question number 1, guys, I brought 3 Tesla Model Ys on this channel, starting from the long-range dual-motor Model Y, then the Model Y Performance, and not long ago, standard range rear-wheel drive, the car that came out before this, and it actually got more than 50,000 views on my channel. Now, my question is this Model Y being like a final build before we see a Model Y Juniper that can be announced any week from now, does this have a better build quality in terms of like panel gaps, misalignments and so on, and including the interior quality? So I'm gonna go over that. For question number 2, I want to find out if long-range rear-wheel drive is enough in terms of acceleration, which is 6.5 seconds, or I'll be craving for the dual motor, which is 4.8 seconds. Now, considering that the price difference is only about $3,000, where before standard range to dual motor was close to $5,000. So will you take slower acceleration but longer range of this rear wheel drive, or faster acceleration of the dual motor and slightly less range? For question number 3, I complain about acoustics or like echoing in this car, which is a little bit weird, and I know some of you shared in the comments as well, and also kind of like excessive road noise when you drive over imperfected roads. So I'm curious, in this final build, have they improved that or not? And for question number 4, it has to do with suspension, or basically a ride quality. Previously, I complained that the Model Y long range and standard range felt firmer and not as premium than, let's say, the Tesla Model 3 feels. And as we know, Tesla has a tendency to update things without announcing. So I'm curious, for this final build, have they refined this ride quality, and does it actually feel better to drive? And finally, if you watch How to Drive for the first time, well, this is the channel where I say before you buy a Tesla Model Y or any other car, do not settle for a 5-minute test drive or just ordering it online. Simply rent it for a day just like I did and drive it for at least 100 miles in city streets, highway, and twisty roads to be able to answer the biggest question I'm answering on this channel: how does it feel to drive? And first, let's start with the exterior build quality. Now, I'm not a guy who is like professionally trained to look for all these issues. And also, I'm just gonna look at what, can be visible with the naked eye. Also, we are used to seeing panel gaps, but what I'm looking for more is misalignments. Now, the front of the Tesla usually looks fine. They don't have any issues, with the front being misaligned here. So all these look fine to me, as well as the fender here looks fine. Now, this is the area which Tesla likes to screw up here and there, but overall this looks not bad. I'm gonna come back to this right here. Now, this looks fine. Now, Tesla likes to screw up this area right here with the large panel gap, right? Remember, in the older Model Ys and Model S's, you see a lot. And also previously, I saw an issue here. Now, not only it's a kind of a bigger gap, but also this panel would sit higher than this panel, and I saw it on a previous car. This looks fine, and actually this looks good, not bad. Little large gap, but it's not bad overall. This looks fine. The bumper. Now, this area Tesla also likes to screw up, and to me, they've done pretty good job right here for this build. No issues here, no major issues here. Nothing completely misaligned or misaligned at all, so it looks good. Yeah, a little maybe larger gap, but at least it's not misaligned. Again, nothing wrong here with the tail light. All good here. And again, on this side, see, there's a little narrower than the other side, but it looks even. The panels are not misaligned. Here also looks fine overall. Now, this also looks fine. The issue that I really want to show you, it's not a big deal, but where I found misalignment is here. Like, this plastic piece kind of sits more inward compared to the fender or this panel right here. You can kind of see it here compare to the other side. Like, this side, it looks much better, smoother, and they almost sit at the same level. So guys, this is the only kind of noticeable issue I found in this final build. Otherwise, this Tesla Model Y long range looks pretty good, and I would accept it for sure. And the other part I want to quickly touch base is the interior quality of this Model Y final build to see if it's any better or is the same as the other Model Ys I brought on the channel. Now, as far as the doors, these are not high-end materials, but they're fairly well molded, nothing creaks or rattles. The area that I complain about the Model Y and Model 3 this generation is this plastic piece right here. You know, you can easily leave scratches which are visible, and also this plastic is kind of thin. Like you can see from this side, I can squeeze it. And I even said in my videos, you can slide a credit card in there. So I'm expecting them to change this plastic, you know, the quality of it in the upcoming Model Y Juniper. Now coming on the inside, overall I'm pretty pleased with everything else. It's a very simplistic cabin. There's not much going on here. Now usually where I saw issues is this panels right here. Usually you'll see some misalignments in the corners, or it's simply this will be loose. In this case, I'm pretty pleased to see nothing is loose. It's very nicely molded. This side or even this side, usually you might see one side like being like nicely attached, but then the other side will be a little loose, but this one looks good. You know, everything works, nothing loose, everything opens and closes. Yes, it's a new car still, but you know, sometimes these things get stuck. Here looks fine as well. So it's a very easy cabin to live with, and you know, I don't see any misalignments or any excessive creaks or rattles. All right, now let's go ahead and head out. And now I'm gonna drive this Tesla Model Y in the city and discuss if I find any refinements in this latest Model Y build. So I'm gonna throw the car in the standard mode. We have to put the key, dynamics, so we chill standard and standard steering. All right, let's go ahead and drive it. Oh, go to drive. All right, so one thing about the long range rear wheel drive, 0 to 60 is 6.5 seconds versus 6.6 seconds for the stand range, the car that was before that, for those who don't know. So it's only 0.1 seconds quicker. Now, how does it actually feel in the rear wheel driving? Well, I'm looking at it again, right? And one thing you'll see is that the way it's tuned, it's not tuned for quick takeoff. I mean, this car has 347 horsepower, which is quite a bit, even though it's about 4,350 pounds in terms of the curb weight. But it's tuned to accelerate almost like in chill mode. Like even in standard mode, it accelerates like, you know, very gradually kind of, right? It doesn't jump. Like those early Model 3s when they came out, they would jump quickly, even the single motor ones. So let's do floor it. So I'm flooring it and it just builds the power. I mean, it's fairly fine. I mean, but it doesn't like jump quickly. Now, why I'm saying all this? Well, if you want to feel more satisfying power where your head just pushes against the, your headrest, then you definitely want to get a dual motor, which is a 4.8 seconds, as that's going to provide that quick, takeoff. Like even my Fiat 500e, which did like 0 to 60 in 9 seconds, felt quicker in that initial pull because it was tuned that way. This car is more tuned for comfort. They know that a lot of families will be driving this, so there is no like a quick acceleration in this car. So I'm literally flooring it and now it's building power. So even though it's 6.5 seconds, it's more like mid-range upper power is where it's going to actually build the power. But that initial pull is like in chill mode all the time. So that's just something to consider. And that's just like how single motor Model Ys are compared to the dual motor, which does jump. And the Model Y performance is really quick off the line. All right, so next let's talk about the acoustics, right? And the echoing that I pointed out that the previous cars that I rented, they had this weird issue with echoing in the cabin, and it almost felt like you're sitting in a theater. Now, this Model Y feels slightly different. And let me break it down. Now, I don't hear this echoing anymore in this car. It feels pretty normal in terms of acoustics. I also think and feel it's better insulated than the previous standard range that I rented literally a few months ago. Now I'm going to discuss sound insulation on the highway more. as I jumped on the highway, but echoing is not there. Now the other issue I do see though still is the road noise, right? It's still there. Like, this car does not feel as premium as Model 3. And I keep saying that. I keep comparing it to Model 3 because in Model 3, they don't have any problem with acoustics. Obviously no echoing there. They don't have any problem with this road noise. It just feels like a BMW 3 Series. It feels quite premium. Where in Model Y, when you start hitting all these imperfections, you start hearing this excessive noise. It's almost like, think about it like I'm driving like a van with nobody behind, or like a cargo van, and you hear all that kind of like a hollow sound coming from that cargo area. So it literally feels like that, like I'm hitting imperfections, and I hear all that road noise travels into the cabin, and that's definitely not something this car should have. So I'm hoping in the new generation they fix this. So that issue is still there. That hasn't gone away. Yes, you can live with it. Many people won't even understand what I'm talking about. But if you are a little bit of, car enthusiast, or you're coming from other car brands and, quiet cabin is a big thing for you, then definitely you gotta spend time in this car driving your, beat up roads, and you'll hear this. You'll hear what I'm talking about. And I know some of you shared in the comments as well. Now, for the next test, let me go ahead and jump on my imperfected roads so we can discuss suspension. And now I'm driving on imperfected roads, my favorite test road, where I'm hitting a lot of these bumps. And I wish you could hear this on a video, because it feels pretty loud in terms of the road noise and how, like, yes, I know I'm on tires, right? But it almost feels like on the wheels in terms of the road noise, because you hear everything in the cabin. Now it feels like I'm in a fish tank, where all the sound is resounding. So I'm hoping they fix this, because the Model 3 does not have that issue. On the more perfect roads, you don't notice this a lot, but as you hit these imperfections, these tiny potholes, you definitely hear this issue with the excessive sound. Now, in terms of the suspension, right, how does it feel driving this car? Well, it feels pretty much the same as the previous standard range that I rented. Now, it's certainly better than those initial Model Ys that came out. It's more refined, but yet it is still kind of bumpy, right? It's comfortable. Don't get me wrong. A lot of people will be totally okay with this, but it's still, I expect it to be more smooth, more premium. It doesn't have this premium feel. So there's no gliding motion over these bumps. It kind of hits them pretty harsh, I would say, and then you kind of feel it. So for the Model Y being more of a, a crossover for families, I definitely expect them to improve the ride quality in this car, which, like I said many times, Model 3 has it, and Model 3 feels premium, and this car does not feel as premium. So there's no improvement in the suspension basically between the previous cars that I rented and this one. Now, the other part I really want to briefly touch on is the steering, right? One of the coolest thing and the coolest EV experience you get in Tesla is its direct steering. Man, this car steers so effortlessly, and it is so engaging. Now, if you want the best experience, of course you want to get the Model 3, because there that car feels almost like go-kart, right? Model Y is a little bit toned down, but yet it is still very engaging steering. And in day-to-day life, when you run your errands, that translates to ease of driving this car, like, easy acceleration, fairly good brakes. Brakes are okay in this car. Really crisp steering. I love the steering, and even the light steering, when adjusted to light, it's still, on the medium kind of side. You put it to heavy, and yes, it does feel more heavier, but I would drive it just in the standard mode. So yes, overall this car is very easy to live with. Now let's go ahead and hit the highway. And I'm about to merge the highway. I'm just driving back on this beat up road just to kind of reinforce the point that yes, they need to improve the ride quality in the upcoming Tesla Model Y. you know, for both suspension and the sound insulation to give this car a better premium feel. It's not even about competing with like a BMW X3, right, or Mercedes GLC. Even the Honda CR-V hybrid that I brought on the channel felt like more premium, honestly. All right, let's floor it. Picking up the power, and we're merging on the highway. This is what I really like about electric cars, is how effortlessly they pull, right? It just amazing. Now, but this car, like I said, it's not tuned for like jumping quickly, but it's still pretty good. It's pretty adequate. Now, the first thing I want to quickly check on in this Model Y is the cabin insulation. So I'm gonna get in the lane and then just, you know, pull up my sound meter here just to look at the quality of the sound. Let's see. 63. Actually, it's slightly, I think, better than the previous Tesla Model Y, and I can feel that. I can feel that. First of all, there's no echoing, so there's not much noise coming into the cabin from, you know, around me. I do hear some noise from tires, but not much from the outside, like from the cars. So you will certainly enjoy driving this car for long journeys, right? The seats are fairly comfortable, soft. Even the new seats are pretty soft. I experienced them in the new Model 3. You can watch that video as well. So overall, yes, this car is fairly comfortable for long journeys. Yeah, one thing, I cannot use the autopilot in this car. The renter told me that whoever rented this car, they didn't follow some rules and it was suspended for 1 week. Which is funny, like they can do that, right? That's suspended for a week. So I'm not able to test full self-driving in this car, but that's fine. That's not what this video is all about. All right, guys, so as far as mid-range power, that's the other thing I like to test in cars on the highway. Let me quickly look at that. I mean, this being EV obviously has a full torque, but let me floor it and see what happens, right? Floor it. Yeah. It has pretty good top-end power. It's pretty satisfying. So obviously, overtaking cars on the freeway, absolutely no struggle. Floor it again, immediate pickup, and it just picks up the speed. Yeah, it's good. It's very decent. Of course, not as fast as the dual motor, but usually you see the biggest difference in the low end power, right? The initial get-go. All right, guys. So now I'm heading to the twisty roads to discuss the most fun part and most interesting part about Tesla, and that it's balance and safety. And I have to drive it on the twisty roads as well to talk about the safety of Tesla and what makes it so unique, which a lot of people don't know. So stay tuned. And for this final part of the video, I'm gonna discuss Tesla Model Y on the twisty roads. Like, what is so good about this? What is so good about Tesla in general? Now, I'm driving in standard mode. Let's put steering into heavy. And guys, if this is the first time you're watching 100-mile drive, the reason I bring cars on twisty roads, regardless if it's Tesla, Porsche, or Toyota Camry, well, that's because on the twisty road, car opens up. We put everything more to the stress, braking, acceleration, and most importantly, chassis has to work more, and you get to see what is this car really made of. Its balance, its safety. Now, one thing about Tesla, and this is, you know, car maybe number 10 that I'm driving on the twisty roads in terms of Tesla, is how well they are balanced. Now, a lot of you guys, if you live especially in Florida, won't even know what is it like driving Tesla on the twisty roads, but let me tell you, it is really well balanced. One thing about Tesla is the best representation of low center of gravity, where it kind of pulls the car down. And even the Model Y, being a taller car than the Model 3, it's still so well balanced. Like, this car just slices through the corner. It stays nearly flat through the corner. There's one, you know, little motion that it leans a little bit, but then it just stays through the corner really well, like something pulling the car down. That is so amazing. That means if somebody brakes in front of you, you can make that maneuver and it's just gonna listen. The car will just move. Also, with steering being more direct than most cars, it responds so quickly to your inputs, and man, this car just holds. Tires here are Pirelli's 255 wide front and rear, and they do fairly well, you know, pretty good job. Of course, I'm not going super fast, and that's not my intention. I'm just trying to understand the balance of this car, and it's balanced really well, really well. So this car has really good safety in terms of, you know, any kind of dangerous situations on the road. And if you have to maneuver, you're not gonna lose control. The chassis doesn't wobble, doesn't wander. There's no left right shifting. It just stays really well through the corner. Imagine what Model 3 does, right? And I've driven Model 3s many times here, and Model 3 is just even better because of a low center of gravity, even more in that car, and more direct steering. That car is like a Porsche 911. Of course, not a 911, but still really, really good. So guys, this is just a joy. So, you know, ladies can drive this car in the daytime, and gentlemen can take this car on your favorite back roads and just enjoy, because, you know, it holds pretty well. Of course, you don't want to go really fast. That's not what this car is for. You can get, of course, Model Y Performance that is going to do a better job because of the wider rear tires and even shorter travel suspension. But even this car does fantastic job. And after driving car on twisty roads, you just start appreciating, you know, the car more, because you get to see the balance of the car and what it's capable. All right, now let me go ahead and summarize this. So there you have it, guys. I just finished driving Tesla Model Y long-range rear-wheel drive in the city highway and twisty roads, and here are the two areas of improvement that I did find. Number one is the quality of build. Yes, it is slightly better. I only found one area where you visibly can see a misalignment, but all the other panels look fairly fine. And the second one is no echoing in the cabin. Like I saw in the previous two Tesla Model Ys, the long-range all-wheel drive and the Model Y standard range, I did see that echoing. This car did not have that. Everything else is pretty much the same. The ride quality, you know, similar acceleration to the standard range. Now, also, I would like to say that now that the difference between this car and the Model Y long-range dual motor is only $3,000, personally, I would take the dual motor. If you're financing this car, it's only about $60 difference in terms of the payment, but you get that, you know, quicker acceleration, 4.8 seconds if you want to, you know, take off a little quicker off the light, or you want to pass someone, and it gives you that peace of mind in those icy conditions. And even if you live in California, you can take it to Big Bear on snow occasionally, right, like once, twice a year. And even in rainy weather, just all-wheel drive gives you a better control, so to speak. So that's just my opinion. But I think more than 80% will be of folks buying this car will be happy with just this. And this is the car I'm sure most of you are shopping for. So let me know, what do you guys think? Do you have Model Y? What are your comments? What are things you like about it and don't like about it? If you don't have Model Y and shopping, let me know if this video was helpful, and, you know, what are the things you would like to point out. And if you want to watch another video where I made on the Model Y long range all-wheel drive, you can watch it right here. And the video Model Y Performance you can watch right here. And I'll catch you in the next video.